All right, everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. We're going to talk about Ubisoft again today. This is the publisher that's got that wonderful game coming out, Assassin's Creed Shadows, that takes place in feudal Japan and stars a man of African descent as the main character, a samurai. Yeah, these guys. Let's cue the music and we'll just get right into things. Alright, so if there's anyone in this industry that needs to be canned, it's this guy, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot. He says he's dismayed about malicious and personal online attacks directed at team members. Company's community manager appears to have animus against white men. So there's a little 2-for-1 in there. And I got another story we're going to talk about right after this, all related to Ubisoft and all pointing at this guy who really needs to get canned. The investors in Ubisoft really need to start looking at that company and holding people accountable, including him. I mean, he may be the founder of the company and all that, but founders get pushed out all the time. It happens, Guys get pushed out of companies. This is a publicly traded company. I think Tencent owns a portion of it, and they're going to be losing money. They're going to be losing money for a long time now if they keep their dickery up that they're working on right now. But let's read this story a little bit here, and we'll talk about it. In an interview with Lucy O'Brien, Ubisoft's director of editorial communications that was published to Ubisoft's website, Guillemot was asked, "I'd like to end with a two-part question. First part, what dismays you about the games industry right now?" And he responded, "One thing I'm concerned about right now is the malicious and personal online attacks that have been directed at some of our team members and partners. I want to make it clear that we at Ubisoft condemn these hateful acts in the strongest possible terms, and I encourage the rest of the industry and players to denounce them too. I am proud to support the amazing work of our teams and partners, and I will always trust in their creative choices. We should all celebrate the hard work and talent that goes into making video games," he concluded. Well, I hate to disagree with you, but you're wrong, Guillemot. And I'll tell you how you're wrong, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. First off, personal attacks, I get it. Hateful attacks, I get it. Not cool. No need to do these things. I denounce those as well. But what is a hateful and malicious attack? And that's the problem with these woke dirtbags, is they will change the goalposts all the time. It's one thing to direct some hate speech towards somebody and make fun of them for their sexual orientation or race, whatever. You can call that hate speech. You can call it whatever you want. I mean, that whole hate speech thing is a load of garbage anyway. It's foolish. Just let speech be speech. Let speech be speech. Everybody has a right to an opinion, and people should be able to voice their opinions. If their opinions are unpopular, then they should be held accountable for those opinions, and people can give them a hard time for it, right? But yeah, that's not the way it works anymore. You have to step in line with the popular opinion, or you're a pariah. You're cast out and banished into the wastelands. And it's absolute insanity. Criticism of a game is not a malicious attack. It's not hate speech. Telling a developer, "Hey, you guys really screwed up when you made Yasuki, the main character, an African man in a game set in 14th century or 15th century Japan about a samurai. You made him the main character." That's wrong. That's not hate speech. That's an opinion, and it's a valid opinion, and it's one worth listening to. And it's an argument that really, it's almost inarguable at this point. I mean, if you defend that choice, you're flat out an idiot. Okay? You're an idiot if you defend that choice. If you're going to walk around and make excuses for, "Well, he was a real person." Yeah, who gives a shit? There's a lot of real people back there that were Japanese guys. They were real samurai. They should be the guy playing that role. That should be the main character. Or just a completely made up dude like every other Assassin's Creed game. That would have been fine. But a Japanese guy. This is what the fans have been asking for years. And you guys pulled this crap on them. And then you threw in this weird boy looking girl ninja alongside that also isn't proper. You know, it should have been just one character. That's fine. Make the samurai and all that. I know you wanted a man, you wanted a woman, and then you threw in the black guy because you had to tokenize. You know, I'm surprised. I'm surprised it's not just one character that's like a big black woman samurai. That would have been even. I guess that's even too much for them. But yeah, criticism's valid. Criticism isn't hate speech, and me saying that I think that's poor choices for this game is not hate speech. It's my opinion. And it's the opinion of a lot of people. It's unclear exactly what Guillemot is talking about, given that he does not share any evidence or discuss what these malicious and personal online attacks are. Well, imagine that. They never do. They always say these things. It's that whole Jesse Smollett thing. Remember him from a few years ago? God, what's it been? 8 years now? Just about, where he was in Chicago in the middle of the night getting a sub, and two rednecks in MAGA hats, two white guys, said this is MAGA country, and threw bleach on him and tried to hang him with a little piece of rope. And it turns out that he hired two of the blackest black dudes you ever saw. These guys are straight from the motherland, Africa themselves. They were brothers, weightlifters and bodybuilders and all that. And big guys, dark as night. I mean, really dark. And he's trying to pass them off as white guys. That's Jesse Smollett. This is how these people act. It's that fake victimhood. And they do it to gain social points with people. I don't know what it is. I mean, I see that a lot on the internet. You know, I see that a lot where people will fake things. They'll fake illnesses. They'll fake mental illness. They'll fake injury, problems at home and all that for attention. And it's weird to me. It's really weird. I think it's just a matter of that the whole world, as connected as we are to each other and all that, we suffer from probably the worst loneliness that humanity's ever felt in their life. You know, because people don't communicate anymore. Not like real people do. They're communicating electronically. They're texting and Instagramming and all that. And at the risk of sounding old, you know, maybe that's the way of the future, but it sure doesn't seem to have made people happier. It seems to have made them more miserable. It seems to have brought people together that never would have met in the real world, and these kind of people never would have thrived in the real world. In the real world, people that like to dress up like animals and take a crap in kitty litter pans at their school, they would not know each other because there would be one here and one there and one over here, all in different parts of the world, and they wouldn't communicate with each other and create a community. That's what it's all about anymore, these stupid-ass communities of idiots. But let's go on. Shared via screenshots to X by user Kooks12, Jones posted back in 2020. Oh, this is their, this is their community manager, Shauna Jones. Let me guess. Strong black woman. But anyway, if you're a white dude complaining that diversity is being raised as an issue, then people are going to keep raising the lack of diversity until we see change. That shit got to change, man. In another post in September, she wrote, love that if you say you're trying to be more body positive, white men assume that you're saying you're fat and tell you to go to the gym, bitch. I'm a size 12. Being body positive has nothing to do with weight. Oh, God. Shauna Jones. Shauna Jones. Let's take a look here. She, her. Oh, yeah. Oh, INFJ. Okay. Doesn't look like she's a person of color. But hey, you never can tell, right? People just assume things anyway, but yeah. Thank you for the she, her, because yeah, the long hair and makeup, I would have never guessed. Idiots. Anyway. So yeah, here she is talking about white privilege, and it's utter ridiculousness, this whole thing. Gamer boys ruin online games, she wrote in 2020. She responded to a post in 2022 about Alan Cudicio claiming he was mistaken for a waiter at Gamescom. Jones posted, "This is shameful behavior, proof that we can't make the games industry a safe and inclusive space when higher-ups don't understand the importance of diversity and are all middle-aged white guys." Bitch, who do you think signs your paychecks, right? Who do you think is the driving force behind the economy? It's middle-aged white guys. I'm sorry, man. That's what this industry was built on. It used to be young white guys back in the day. Now it's middle-aged white guys. That's not to say there's no diversity in the industry. There is. But quite honestly, the core of it's that. And the core of your gamer, your main gamers are white dudes, and not middle-aged, young. You know, I'm not out of the main demographic. I've aged out of it, but still, guys 20, 30 years younger than me don't want garbage games. They want good games. They don't want to be preached to, and they don't want to be told how bad they are because they were born male or born white or anything like that. They just want a good game. They're paying hard money for it, you know, good hard-earned money, and they want a good game. So, but yeah, here's the company also hiring Dartmouth professor Sachi Schmidt-Hori as a consultant on Assassin's Creed Shadows. She's the woman that wrote those weird books about sexual relationships between boys and men in feudal Japan or something like that, or amongst the monks or whatever. I mean, just really gross stuff. Why would you even talk about that stuff? I mean, who cares, right? So if that's what they like to do, that's whatever. But how much of it's true? How much of it is fact? And how much are you making up because you have an agenda? You know, I've heard 100 people now tell me that, that what's his name here, was a real samurai, right? A real samurai. He was never a real samurai. He was a retainer for one. And, but because somebody made an anime about it or a manga or something like that, now it's gospel. And yeah, and Yusuke, he was just a dude. He was a retainer. He was basically a servant of the samurai, which is funny. Doesn't change anything. But investors at Ubisoft got to wise up, because if they keep losing money, and they're going to lose a lot of money on this one. I know Mirage was pretty soft. I know Skull and Bones was in the toilet right from the start. And that was a game I was hyped on, man. I was ready for that game. I was ready to dedicate my whole channel to that game. And after it was the second or third cancellation and refunding of my money because of delays, I was like, you know what? I'm waiting for this game to come out. I'm not going to be there on launch day. I'm not pre-ordering anything. Not with these guys. None of that. I don't want to be at the front of the pack for this, because I have a feeling it's going to shit the bed. And yeah, we all know the history there. But let's see what else is going on, because Ubisoft CEO announces Assassin's Creed remakes. Well, that's great. And some of those old games will be wonderful. Says the company will modernize them. Okay, so modernizing something used to mean like you're going to improve the special effects, right? Like, let's look at Clash of the Titans, for instance, right? That movie came out in, I think it was the very early 80s, Harry Hamlin and Burgess Meredith in it and all that. Great movie. I loved it as a kid, man. That movie was the shiznit. I thought it was fantastic. You know, but the effects are horrible. You know, they're the stop motion animation and all that. At the time, they were what they were. They were fine. They were acceptable by the standards of that day. But the movie did not age well. The mechanical owl was goofy. You know, there were certain things that were just absolutely terrible in there. And, you know, so hearing that they were going to remake it, I was like, oh, that's awesome. So they remade it, and yeah, it wasn't as good of a film. I'm going to put it that way, as the original. It took itself a little more seriously than the original, and it had, you know, the effects were way better, you know, than they were back decades ago, back in the early 80s or late, I think it was the very early 80s. You know, the effects were top-notch compared to that. Much better, but it wasn't a better product, right? But that's what it meant by making it for a modern audience, right? Modernizing, or I should say modernizing the movie. They modernized the special effects. You know, they made some minor changes to things and all that. But they didn't do anything major. They didn't make Perseus gay. They didn't make Zeus black. You know, they didn't do any of these things. They didn't make the pantheon of gods multi-religious now. You know, one's Hindu and one's Muslim, whatever. You know, they didn't do any of that stuff. They just, they kept the source material for what it was, made some little changes here and there, upgraded the visuals of it, and seriously downgraded the rest of it because it wasn't as good as that original one. I mean, it's not a terrible movie, but it's not something that, you know, when I'm bored and I'm looking through my movies, I'm like, I feel like watching a movie tonight. My hand never goes to that one to pull it off the shelf. You know, I'm going to watch Clash of the Titans tonight. No, it just doesn't happen. Next time I watch that movie is when I get the original on Blu-ray or HD Blu-ray or whatever. And I'll do a triple feature. I'll watch the original, the old one, Harry Hamlin, then I'll watch the remake, and then I'll watch that Wrath of the Titans follow-up, which was even worse. But I'm way off subject here. So anyway, in an interview posted to Ubisoft's website, Guillemot was asked, on the Assassin's Creed front, we've had Mirage, which was a leaner homage to the series' roots, and now Shadows, which is much larger in scope and more in the vein of Odyssey Valhalla. Looking at the future, can we expect this continued variety? Smaller games alongside bigger ones? He responded, firstly, players can be excited about some remakes which will allow us to revisit some of the games we've created in the past and modernize them. There are worlds in some of our older Assassin's Creed games that are still extremely rich. So nothing bad in what he says there, but that word modernize, the meaning of that has changed in recent years. So that always brings my hackles up when I hear about it, because we hear about that elusive modern audience that everyone's making everything for, right? We're upgrading it for the modern audience. Okay, so how come nobody went to see the movie that you made for the modern audience? How come nobody bought the game that you made for the modern audience? How come that TV show that you did based off of some source material did so poorly when you made it for the modern audience? The modern audience, to me, is a group of about 30 critics and journalists that will, pardon my French, suck off the studio that's making this garbage and print raving reviews of them and give them gold stars and all this hype because they checked all the right boxes for diversity and equity and all that crap. But the real audience, the gamers, the viewers, the people that watch movies and play these games, they don't show up because it's garbage and it's not what they want. You know, so is that what the modern audience is? This group of journalists and critics and a handful of weirdos on Twitter? I mean, that must be it. That must be it, you know? And I'm a firm believer in make something for your audience if you want to. You know, if you want to make a game that appeals to trans people, make a trans game. Make it. But don't put the expectation on it that I'm going to buy it, play it, endorse it, enjoy it, whatever. I'm going to have zero interest in it. I won't even buy it to make fun of it. I'm going to avoid it like the plague, you know? But make it. Make it for your modern audience. That's fine. Don't take beloved IPs. Don't take things from the past and destroy them on the altar of diversity, because that's what you're doing. You're sacrificing these things on the altar of diversity, and you're destroying them. Star Wars is just destroyed beyond belief. The movies, the games, everything is garbage anymore. Occasionally, that IP puts out something of decent quality, like Rogue One, and I heard Andor was okay. I didn't see it because by then I was completely off that train, and I'm done. I will never go back to Star Wars. This is something I loved since I was 6 years old, and I saw the original with my father in the theater. I was taken to a galaxy far, far away. Han Solo was I know Luke was supposed to be the hero, but Han was the guy I resonated with. I'm like, Han's badass. He's cool. He drives around this big space junker and hangs out with this big furry dude, and, you know, he's got the hots for the princess, and he's tough, and he's got a gun, and he doesn't mind shooting, you know, he's badass. Luke was too much of an innocent little farm boy. I was 6 years old, man. You know, probably should have gravitated toward Luke, but yeah, I didn't. Han was more interesting to me and has much, much cooler. And as the series went on, he just became cooler and cooler, whereas Luke became more and more of a tool. And God, in real life, Mark Hamill, man, God, you turned out to be such a cringy scumbag. You're like that old alcoholic that's hanging out behind the 7-Eleven screaming at everybody, you freaking weirdo. Wow. I don't know what happened to you, bro. I really don't. But Assassin's Creed Hex was announced back in 2022 during an Ubisoft Forward. The brief teaser trailer showed the assassin symbol made out of a bunch of branches hanging in a dark, gloomy, and creepy grim forest. Ubisoft's Marc-Alexis Cote informed VGC back in 2022 about the game. Hex will provide a different experience in terms of game and game structure. That will eventually come out as we reveal more. Based on the trailer, it appears to have a horror vibe, which is fascinating. According to the rumor from Bloomberg, the game is set during the latter stages of the Holy Roman Empire and revolves around witch trials. That's interesting. The game is being developed by Ubisoft Montreal, with Clinto Hocking as the creative director. It's quite likely that Ubisoft is following in Atlus's footsteps and will be delving into a variety of different genres. Atlus found massive success with Persona 5 and has spun a number of different titles out of the main title, including Persona 5 Strikers and Persona 5 Tactica. Strikers took the franchise into the Musou genre, playing similarly to games like Dynasty Warriors, while Tactica was more of a strategy role-playing game in the vein of Final Fantasy Tactics, which I hear is going to get a remake. I loved that game when I was younger. While it is interesting that Ubisoft might delve into other games, it's quite concerning that Guillemot details that he plans on modernizing a number of older Assassin's Creed games via remakes. Yeah, there's no reason to do that. If you break out Black Flag and... just don't do it, bro. Remake the game. Update the combat to modernize it. Make it more fluid, make it more modern. Just update the gaming systems, the engine itself, the way things look. If you want to remake or remaster, whatever you want to do, make it look better, make it play better, make it more exciting, and make it more modern in the aspect of how the game handles. Don't inject DEI in it and destroy it, because that is exactly what you will do. You will destroy these beloved old games. And the last memory people are going to have of some of these great games like Black Flag is going to be the ashes of what it was laying on that altar of diversity, because you guys screwed it up so bad. I'm telling you, man, this guy needs to be shit-canned, kicked to the curb, and gone. We need to get somebody in there who actually cares about games and not worrying about collecting that, DEI money or whatever you want to call it, and earning social credit scores. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, I'll link to both of these down below. You let me know what you guys think about Ubisoft right now. If you were an investor, hey, great, now we'll get a black NCO. If you were an investor in Ubisoft, how would you feel about the decisions they're making lately and the amount of bombs they've had? I mean, Pandora wasn't any good. That's the game based off of, the Avatar movies. I don't think it was a huge failure, but it was definitely underperformed. I'm pretty sure Mirage underperformed. Mirage, I imagine, originally it was supposed to be a DLC for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because one of the characters came from that, and it would have probably made a good DLC, It wasn't a big $70 game, it kind of harkened back to the older style of Assassin's Creed games, which were shorter games and more condensed and all that. And I'm all for that, right? I think there's room in gaming for both types of games. There's two definitive types of Assassin's Creed games, well, mainline ones at least. You got those other mobile ones and side-scrollers and weird stuff like that I'm not counting that. But you've got those smaller games like the originals, and then you've got those big sprawling adventures like Valhalla and Odyssey and Origins, and now Shadows. God, man. Anyway, let me know what you think down below. Would you be supportive of getting rid of Guillermo, or whatever his name is, Guillemot? If you were investing in this company, would you be voting to get him out and to get somebody in there that wants to make money and not score brownie points with the weirdos of Twitter? I know I would. Don't forget to leave a like on the video down below, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell for notifications. I will see you all next time. Until then, peace.